Hello, it's April 25th. It's a little after 7 p.m. and we're now starting on the back garden here in Colorado. I'm in a Zone 5B garden, and now we're going to be looking at my east-facing, shaded, generally damp backyard, which is a good thing because it's been an incredibly dry April so far in Colorado. So let me show you what I have. First, we've got deck boxes coming. My plan is to put some super petunias in here. They're going to be hopefully pink and silverberry trailing. Some planters that I put some things in, but we'll see if it actually works. And then this little deck box here has just been the performer for me. I've been able to get a ton of tulips out of here. I mean, these ones have, like, they're just cute, and it's really this sort of little throwaway planter that I had pulled together. So so I'm probably going to just do this again next year too. Let's head on down. I'll give you the overview. So we've got, this is back in the raised garden bed. There was just what I had run out of energy to put anywhere else. The back corner is tulips that have survived for a couple of years now. They're a dark pink color. And then we pan our way through, and you'll see the tulips back here are actually coming up like real proper tulips. And you can even see the smaller, more grassy foliage that's sitting there are the Lady Jane tulips. All of these other tulips are going to be a wave of pink. I think starting here at the edge, those might be some carousel some carousel white and pink fringed, or some parrots. And then we start into a bigger wave of the pink impressions with the Lady Janes in front of them. You can still see some crocus foliage. There's a couple of hyacinths back there. I had planted my daffodils. I still don't know if they're going to come up. And then there's several different varieties of pink in here, some apricot delight that I was trying to do Kuchenhof style in the front here. And then just kind of little random tulips tossed about. And then until we get to the back bed where I planted rows of different bulbs. Pretty much everything in the backyard. I tried to put a row in the back there, plus a few others, finola maybe double 8 tulips, as well as some Merlot lily flowering tulips. There's of course the pink impressions, I think some of the apricot delights, but then you can also just see a variety of tulips in there, where I really wanted to see what would happen in that back corner because it is an extremely shaded area. It just gets a couple of hours of sunlight in the morning. So let's go closer. In the front yard, the purple hyacinths are pretty much, they're done at this point. There's just a few lingering on up there, and most of them I cut back. Here we've got, I actually harvested the tulips from those back 2 tulips from that top box there on my deck, and then shoved the bulbs down here just to see if they wanted to naturalize. And I'll give them a hope. I just cut off the little short tulips on there and left all the foliage. Then we've got some daffodils over here. I'm guessing these ones are going to be white lions. A couple of alliums that survived my drowning them. I just watered this a few minutes ago too. So some additional daffodils. Kind of towards the end of my planting season, I got wind of the fact that daffodils can do really well and will naturalize better than tulips often, so I just grabbed a few. Now these daffodil here are probably 10 inches at this point. The hyacinths here are about 6 inches and still growing. They're just really sweet. I quite like these purple / blue hyacinths from the Longfield Garden blue mix, and I'm sure I'll get them again. So back here, these are the tulips that have survived for several years. They have split and grown. I think it must be because in this corner of the yard there's a lot of runoff from up above, and maybe that's helping them strangely. This hole had actually been the hole in which this autumn blaze maple had been planted. However, there is a power line right underneath these, so I had had the landscapers move the tree since they probably should have checked that before they planted it in the first place. But these tulips, again, they're at this point they're ranging from the tiniest ones that are, you know, still just little teeny ones like this little baby one is probably 3 inches, and the foliage is about 4 inches, all the way up to about 6 inches. And then the ones in the back that are actually opening, aren't they cute? They're just really pretty. Those ones are topping up at around 8 inches right now. This is very interesting. You can see that I believe it's the rabbits. They enjoy the crocus foliage, and they've been coming and getting the crocus foliage, and they're leaving most everything else alone. I mean, I did see a couple of tulip leaves that had been munched before, but yeah, but look at this. I mean, they have just gone after the crocus foliage, and you can see it's not that it didn't grow. I mean, it definitely did. There's some more of it, but there's even some more where you can just see right up against there. Some of it they nibbled down, so they're trimming it for me. I sure hope there's enough to let these little crocus bulbs survive. But yeah, so I'm pretty sure that these are carousel fringe that I put in here at the end. I've got the yellow hyacinth. You know, strangely enough, I'm more fond of the blue mix hyacinth than I am of the yellow hyacinth, at least so far. You know, it's interesting how your tastes kind of develop over time as you get more used to things. So these little hyacinth, the flower heads are probably, well, let's see, the one that's actually up there. I mean, it is really beautiful. These are called Yellowstones. That is probably 5 inches tall at this point, and you know, some of them are still just starting to peek out of the ground here. And then you can see the tulips. These ones are going to be mainly pink impressions. Over here we've got some daffodils. Daffodils are coming up, and they've got their flowers on them. At this point, this is, you know, is that probably about 8 inches. Some of these taller tulips here, to give you a view, are topping out at maybe even as tall as a foot on the tallest of the foliage. But that's going to be really pretty. Tucked back here, we have some salvias from last year that did overwinter okay. We've got some phlox that is not dead yet. We have a little bit of snapdragon that will be yellow if it actually comes up. And then there's 3 yellow roses towards the back there. And again, still not a sign of those Acropolis daffodils. So that's disappointing, but good to know that these hyacinths have just been a real treat and success story. This is going to be, I think this one is a burning bush. A sad hydrangea here. Let's see, there was a little bit of growth on it before. I think there's still a little tiny bit of green there. A kind of dark pink rose, and my friend here, the willow, the brother plant of our massive one there. This, we'll see. This one has not done well. It's sprouted a leaf or 2 last year, and we'll see if it does any better this year with me maybe watering more. I just assumed that we get so much water back here because of the sump pump, and it pumps multiple times a day. I just assumed that it was all getting plenty of water, but we'll see. This is actually, so far with that green, it's looking better than it has in years. A black lace elderberry with some tulips and some of last year's snapdragons tucked around it. And then here we go with this back box. Let's see. Got some of the latifolium muscari. These are the ones that have the tulip-like leaves. So latifolium, I think, means broad-leaved. Then we've got one of the blue hyacinths, some of the crocus foliage here. More foliage than crocuses in this bed, I would say. possibly, you know, just flowering wise. But even here you can tell something has gotten its little teeth on it. Yeah, I quite like the Latifolium muscari. And just more tulips coming up. Daffodils. These ones are probably going to be replete daffodils. I had gotten more replete daffodils in like a pink box that was raising money for the Susan Komen Foundation last year, so I liked them because they're going to be pinkish. They're actually, I think, maybe a bit more of an apricot, but they qualify as pink. Look at that. So we've got things coming up. And then a sad little juniper, because I am not fond of juniper. Some grasses that our former landscaper neighbor had given us. A little tree from Arbor Day from last year that I just didn't have the heart to let die without at least trying. And then one lone tulip here. I have a feeling this one might end up being an exotic emperor if it blooms. Just because I wanted to test out what would happen with it, but we'll see for sure. If anything, will grow in this boggy kind of area. You can see it. We just had a minute or two ago the sump pump here spew its water out as it constantly does, and it then turns this whole area into wetness, which is why, with that being a raised bed, I was hoping that it would do okay. So far, so good. I'll keep you updated. Thank you for stopping by.